Yes, hello everyone, it's Rabbi Teller here. So, I'd like to speak about something which might be a little controversial in the Haredi community, unfortunately, but as you can see, I wrote on my profile that I'm a vegan. Now, that's what I want to speak about. And, it's a few days before Pesach, and what better thing to talk about while I am cutting and peeling vegetables to start for Pesach. So let me get started. So yeah, I've become a vegan. Now why? Because if you know how the industry is, the food industry, with all how the animals are treated and raised, it's mamish tsar b'chaim, and most poskim hold that tsar b'chaim is issa d'oraisa. Now, you might be wondering, what am I talking about? So, did you know? Let's talk about eggs, for instance. The first day when the chickens hatch from the eggs, you know what they do with the male chickens? They basically grind them in a meat grinder and kill them, all the males, because the male chickens, they use a special breed called leghorns. And these chickens are only good for laying eggs. They're very lean, they have very lean meat, they're not good for meat, so they basically have no need for the males, so they just kill them all. Right? And the egg chickens, they're kept in very small cages. Like, even if it says something like free range or cage free or all this stuff, or organic just means the type of food they eat, but they're still like never outside in a field. They're all kept like very tightly together. They're made to lay many more eggs than they're naturally supposed to. Basically, their life is like so horrible and terrible. And it used to be in the old times, like, you had your chickens in your backyard or your front yard, wherever in Europe. And, you went every morning, you collected the eggs, and, that was that. And, like, you used to bring the chicken to the shoichet. It wasn't like today where everything's like mass produced with like thousands and thousands of, animals being like all raised specifically. Like, the chickens that people eat, they're called Cornish cross or Cornish rock. The breed, like the white ones, big white ones, and they're basically fed and raised to be ready to be shechted in about 6 weeks, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And like, usually because they're growing so fast that their body can't keep up with it. So like, they were like very sick chickens, and like, like a lot of them, like their knees give out, they can't like hold up their body, and all this like heart problems, all that, whatever else, right? Like, it's just like so sick and so disgusting. It wasn't like, like I had mentioned, like, and usually a lot of the times in Europe, the women actually were the ones that, like, they take the chicken to the shoichet and they shechted it, the shoichet shechted, and they took it home and they koshered it, salted it and everything. And I even saw in the Ben Ish Chai, one second here. So, once I get my camera like fell over here, like, there we go. So I even saw brought from the Ben Ish Chai, right, that he says that you have to teach the women very good the halachas of like koshering, because like an animal like a cow or something, the shoichet, they deal with that, right? So he knows all the halachas. But when it comes to chickens, the women are the ones dealing with that. They salt it and kosher it and everything. So they have to know the halachas very well. Because, they just brought like the chicken from what they raised in the yard and brought it to the shoichet and everything. And then they took it home after it was shechted and they koshered it, right? So it wasn't like today where like you had butchers and and the butcher did everything and like shechted thousands of cows at once, and the cows and chickens, thousands of chickens at once. And a lot of times also, there's a halacha in Shulchan Aruch in Yoreh Deah that you're not allowed. There's a halacha in Yoreh Deah that you're not allowed to shecht a chicken while another chicken, you can't, like one chicken can't see how the other chicken is being shechted, because two reasons. First reason is that like it hardens the lungs and makes it not kosher. The other reason is Sarboy Chaim, like he's seeing, he feels like he's about to die. He senses he's dying soon, And so the Ben Ish Chai even says that it needs to be like, they have to be far away from each other. Like today, there's some shchitas, I've asked around about this. They say, oh, you turn the chicken away so the other chicken doesn't see it. But I mean, like, you still sense, like chickens, they sense that there's like death in the air, right? They hear the sounds. They know they're about to die any minute, And also, we talk about fish, right? I mean, that was like one of the harder things, There's a big Indian to eat fish on Shabbos, and so that was not easy to give up. But then when I learned about how really it helped me to give up when I saw Pesach. You see, if you come to like Williamsburg and Borough Park or like Hasidic areas, there's a minute to not eat fish on Pesach that you have not seen living, right? Because it used to be in Europe that they would preserve fish in alcohol, which is chametz, right? So this custom carried itself over, and I'm not saying it's wrong, like anything bad about the custom in itself, but the problem is the way they treat the fish. They just leave them out of water, let them suffocate, and they can barely breathe, and like they die a slow, painful death, right? So that, like, seeing those poor fish, suffering like that, that's what really made me fully give up fish. And what I do on Shabbos, so let me backtrack a little bit. So the weekday is no problem for me, like I don't mind just eating vegetables and fruits and stuff. And this week, basically, because my kitchen is already ready for Pesach, and like we're starting to cook now, so basically I've been like a raw vegan this whole week, because I can't, like, and beans are kidney, so I don't eat beans on Pesach. So that's like what I've usually been eating for protein and stuff, beans. And since I can't cook it in the Pesach stuff, I'm basically a raw vegan this week. So and also, like, see my hat, it looks like it's fur, right? But this is a synthetic material, like it's plastic inside, and it's a new thing they came out with like the last few years. It's supposed to be like, it's like half the price because it's not real fur, and it's supposed to be hold up better in the rain and stuff. And so I had posted a picture of me with saying I had a synthetic shtramo. So that was supposed to be a synthetic shtramo. I went specifically to this guy who told me he had synthetic shtramo, right? But the guy was a scammer, a liar. So basically what he did, he sold me an old style shtramo. Like, I like the old style. I don't like that new stuff they wear today, the super high ones and all that. So basically, probably like 99% of people are wearing these new ones today, and he had nothing to do with this old one, right? Like, I'm the only crazy person who would buy an old style shtramo, at least young guy that would do it. Maybe you have some like old people that want it, but right? And so he told me it was synthetic, so I would buy it. And I was a little suspicious. Like, I'm not an expert in fur or anything. Like, I don't, you can tell me it's real, synthetic. I won't know the difference, right? So I showed us a few people who actually know about fur, and they've worked with fur. They're experts in fur. So they told me that the guy lied to me. It was real fur. And I even did the burn test. I took few hairs off and burned it, and it smelled like real human hair. Like, fur is supposed to smell like human hair. So in the meantime, unfortunately, I don't have a synthetic shramo yet. It's very, very hard to get. Very hard. Because nobody wants it. Everybody wants these real fur made from, sables or martens, which are they're in the weasel family, I believe. And this is what people want. Nobody wants synthetic. Apparently they had tried to make synthetic because it was cheaper 15, 20 years ago from plastic, but nobody liked it because apparently I didn't see one before, but apparently it looked very bad. I'm okay with that if it looks basically like the thing, like a stramo, but it doesn't have to look perfect for me. I don't care. But so I found a guy who was willing to try to work with me with synthetic fur, and after Pesach, he said he will, right after Pesach, because right now, before Pesach, before Pesach, it's super, super busy. Everybody's getting their so before Pesach, it's super, super busy, right? Everybody's getting their shramo clean for Pesach, so they're super busy. So he said right after Pesach, he's going to try to make me a synthetic shramo, not like a scam like that other guy. So we'll see. I really want to get a synthetic one because, the way they raise fur is so horrible and awful. The fur farms, how they treat those little animals. And if you can get synthetic, in the old days, that's all they had was fur, basically. They didn't have all this synthetic stuff. So in order to keep themselves warm in the winter and stuff, they had to use real animal fur. But also they were catching them in the wild. They weren't having these fur farms like they do today, right? So I know in the Haredi community, it's very, you have very few people who are into veganism, and in general, basically care about Tzar B'Alei Chaim and care about animals. If you see kaparas, how they're done with, the chickens put out there in these crates, sitting there all night without food and water, and and people mistreating them and stuff. That's why I'm at Hashem. I'm going to do it with money this year, or actually for next year, because it's already going to be Tufshin Pei Vav, right? And you see up there, that's Elsa. That cat up there on the shelf. So you actually know the story behind her. So her and her sister Edla, they have Swedish names because my wife is from Sweden and she gave them Swedish names. But I found in the back of actually a shul of a synagogue. Every morning, I went there to daven, to pray, and I saw this mother cat with these kittens, right? And they were, outside. So I started bringing them food. And, there were 4 kittens in the beginning. Two of they disappeared somewhere. So I didn't know where they went. But so these 2, Elsa and Adler, were left, right? So I was giving them food for about a month, and I had it to the point where they would come up and eat from a spoon, eat the food. I'd hold the spoon and they would eat it off the spoon from me. And so I got like one of those traps, and I put some food in it, put it out there, and I caught them and brought them home, raised them up, and you know, at the beginning, you know, they were feral cats, right, from the street, so they were like scared. But now, like, you know, you can pet them and brush them, and you know, they're very friendly now. And so this was like about 1.5 years ago. Like, they were probably just a few months old. And then Edla, she had kittens. So I don't know if she was pregnant before I brought her in, or if she got pregnant from I had 2 male cats before that. And, you know, Sam and Ben. And Sam, he was my first big orange cat. Where is he? He's not in here. This must be out in the bedroom or somewhere. So I guess maybe one of them gotten her pregnant. But first of all, there are laws about neutering or spaying an animal. So a male is a doraisa and a female is a dorabonan. So what you can do is sell the cat like to a non-Jew, and then you can have them, you know, since it's not considered yours at the time, you can bring them and they get spayed or neutered. I mean, really, there's no other option. You can't keep a male cat without him being neutered, because, you know, either he'll spray, he'll be very aggressive and fight and stuff, so you have to get him neutered. So that's what I ended up doing, because I had no choice. And then they got spayed, so no more babies. But anyway, I was talking about Edla had babies, so I raised up these little 6 kittens from like little babies up until now. And yeah, so they're over, wow, what are they, like about over 1 year old, 1.5 years old. So it's just, you know, I love animals too, so like I can't, you know, after learning about the food industry and how everything's like done, like I can't watch myself, you know, I can't like eat any of these animals that I've seen, you know, the way that they're being treated, and it's just like, yeah. So that's why I became vegan. And yeah, so yeah, if I have any questions or anything, feel free to email me. And yeah, you all have a happy kosher Pesach.